Hello and welcome to Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Thanks for tuning in to the Day Weather Podcast today. We're going to talk about warm and windy weather coming today again. Severe weather is on the way for tomorrow. First of all, today is going to be a very similar pattern to Monday. Really warm, 70s and 80s. We're going to have a stiff south to southeast wind. We're going to continue to see that snow melt up in the mountains. Severe weather is likely for Wednesday. It's not if there will be severe weather. There will be. Tomorrow is going to be a wild day for some of you, and we'll talk about that and show you that more here in a moment. Now, it's not going to be as warm later in the weekend for Memorial Day weekend. I'm afraid to say we should not expect this summer-like weather for the weekend. Now, we have seen weekends that have been much worse for Memorial Day weekend. We've also seen some that have been much better. Here's the precipitation forecast through Friday afternoon. What's important here is remember this is just a computer model. So you don't want to take everything verbatim. As we like to say, all weather models are wrong, but some are useful. What is useful about this is showing where the general trends of wetness will be over the next 4 days. It'll be in this area here, closer to that Pacific trough coming into the West Coast. This area here in eastern Wyoming, western South Dakota, Nebraska, northern Colorado, this is where things are going to pop. Don't look at this as exact, but a general trend of where the action's going to be. Little bit of good news, Snowy Range Pass, Highway 130 over the Snowy Range Mountains between Laramie and Saratoga, opened for the season yesterday. There's just a good example of the drifting and the amount of snow. It was a really good snow year in the mountains of southern Wyoming, but the pass is open now. And you're going to see these drifts hang on deep into July the way things are looking. Now let's take a look at the current setup that we have now and why we think we're going to have a lot of severe weather tomorrow. This is the current upper level pattern, and you can see we've got this big trough just off the coast of California, now moving inland and bringing this big broad ridge of high pressure in. We've got this warm, dry, breezy air coming up from the desert southwest. But the air here aloft is cold and moist. A lot of instability, and this system is slowly moving this way. Now for today, we will see enough influence of this guy right here that we will see a little bit of thunderstorm activity today. It's going to show up, so don't be surprised if some of you east of the divide get to some thunderstorms, as well as in far western Wyoming and eastern Idaho. As we advance eastward this trough, as it gets closer Wednesday, we're going to see a real high risk tomorrow of severe weather. This is from the Storm Prediction Center. Folks at the Storm Prediction Center, their job all day and all night is to find out where the highest risk of severe weather is going to be, especially severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. They identify areas of risk, and you can see MRGL means marginal risk. The yellow area means slight risk. And then when we get into ENH, that means enhanced risk. Notice this enhanced risk. You don't see enhanced risk very often on these charts. It's something they don't use lightly. When you see an enhanced zone of severe weather threats, you take it very, very seriously. This is one of these situations, it's Katie bar the door type situations. And the one reason we think the risk of severe weather is high is that these southerly winds that are going to come into the region today and tomorrow, close to the ground, a strong southerly wind flow also interacts with the upper level winds coming in like this. So imagine take a pencil and put a pencil between both of your hands, then roll the pencil. Basically, you get a shear effect where you get a lot of spin in the atmosphere that these thunderstorms can work with that leads to strong updrafts. It leads to tornado formation. If you get strong updrafts, you get hail, you get heavy rain. So it's going to be a wild afternoon and evening across eastern Wyoming, western South Dakota, western Nebraska, into southeast Montana. And we do think that I would not be surprised if we see this go a little bit further south into northeastern Colorado as well. So if you're in these shaded areas, watch out. Places like Cheyenne and Laramie and Casper are on the far western edges. A lot of times, Interstate 25 ends up being the dividing line between where there's going to be severe weather east of I-25 and not nearly as much west of I-25. The areas that you see here, the shading could shift west, could shift east, but certainly if you're in Rapid City, you're in Gillette, if you're in Sundance, if you're in Alliance or Chadron, if you're in Scottsbluff, Cheyenne, Torrington, Wheatland, even down into some parts of northeastern Colorado here, be ready. Put the car in the garage is what I'm saying. If you have that car out of the garage, maybe you cleaned out your garage during this quarantine. Well, you got room for it now, right? Now let's take a look at the upcoming end of the week pattern. This is Wednesday, tomorrow. Notice that trough is nudging closer. That's why that severe weather will get going. By weekend time frame, this is Saturday. We have a low over central and northern Wyoming on Saturday up into southern Montana. So what this means is cool air will pour in over the weekend, cooler air. This is not terribly cold, but cooler air. This is the rain that's coming overnight Friday into Saturday and Sunday morning. Look at northern Montana, northern Wyoming, southern and eastern Montana, northeastern Idaho. This area here is going to have cold, wet weather for the start of the Memorial Day weekend. Now, they need the rain up here in some areas, especially the Bighorn Basin of Wyoming could use a good slug of rain, and they're going to get it. If you notice central and southern Wyoming, then south into the Front Range of Colorado, it's not as wet. Although this area here, there's going to be more showers and thunderstorms than the model shows. Look at temperatures. This is for Saturday. So that Memorial Day weekend is off to a really chilly start. Again, not terribly cold, but pretty cool up in that part of the region. The further south you are, the warmer it will be and the better weather there will be. Now, we'll take closer, more in-depth looks at your Memorial Day weekend. I know a lot of folks are just antsy to get out and go do something. As we get to, let's say, to tomorrow and Thursday, we'll spend a little more time on Memorial Day weekend. By the middle to the end of next week, we see the trough being gone. This trough off the west coast is probably going to sit there for a while, and then we have a big warm ridge rebuilding over the west. What we have right here, folks, right at the end of May and into the first couple of days of June, this is basically the start of summer. A start of summer season right here as we get to the last days of May into the first days of June. It does look like a summer pattern starts to come in. Doesn't mean it's going to be warm and dry, but it does mean it will be warmer, more steadily warm, and you hope that early June brings wetness, and I think we'll see that as we go forward. But we certainly see a summer pattern with the jet stream evolving right at the end of this month into the first couple of days of June. Thanks for listening and watching the Day Weather Podcast. Have a great Tuesday. Talk to you on Wednesday.